I guess we'll go ahead and get started. I think we're recording, and I'll start with my first question. So basically, you and I met at MightyCon St. Louis a few months ago, or I guess like a month and a half ago. And so I'm assuming you're like native to the Midwest. I think I saw online maybe you're in Chicago, or are you in St. Louis? I guess just give me a brief rundown of who you are and like your creative resume.
Well, I'm in Illinois. I grew up in Chicago, in the northwestern suburbs now. Live out here with my family, and my artist life has been going on, since I was a kid. I used to draw Charlie Brown cartoons, and then I, kind of graduated to drawing like comic book characters, like X-Men and Spider-Man and stuff like that. And then when the Image era started, I started drawing Spawn and Wildcat. So I follow a lot of those guys that were started off with Marvel and went over to startup Image and then Wildstorm and all of that. The funny part is that I really didn't get into DC till later. Batman is my favorite character in DC. Um, and I've done a little bit of fan art with Batman here and there. And then in college, I got introduced to manga and a lot of anime. And that kind of took me to another stratosphere where I started reading Naruto and Rurouni Kenshin, Blade of the Immortal, Lone Wolf and Cub, a lot of those classics and everything. And I just started creating my own characters and stuff. It started back maybe early 2000s. I created a character called the Shadow Knight, which I'm actually going to bring back pretty soon, which is like a ninja futuristic type story.
Okay.
Um, yeah. And so Tooth and Nail kind of came out from my wife's four cats had these four distinct personalities, and I started drawing them as a cartoon strip, but then it kind of like evolved into like this ninja action story as I got more influenced by anime and manga and everything. So I was like, well, I love Ninja Turtles, but I feel like cats are better ninjas than turtles could be because
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
a lot quieter and more nimble and everything. So it kind of evolved in that, and I got my BA in 2001 in art and design from Columbia College Chicago, where I currently still work. Um, so, when COVID hit, I was able to kind of like work from home, which I'm still working from home, which is really good. I started, you know, developing more of Tooth and Nail. Excuse the noise in the background. I got four cats actually now.
Mine will jump in here at some point too, I'm sure.
Yeah. They might jump over here. They're making noise over here. But yeah, they uh, when we started working home from home, I was able to kind of balance out working and working on my comic and everything, and it kind of just blossomed into something more than I expected to. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to do this. I just really want to do my own independent work. I'm very influenced by comic book stuff, and I saw a lot of independent artists and creators at conventions and what they were doing. And I felt like I can do this too. I did it with the Shadow Knight, and then that kind of fell apart, and then Tooth and Nail came along. And so, because I had a little bit of the publishing, uh, what do you say, experience with Shadow Knight, I went over to start putting that into Tooth and Nail, and everything. So that's kind of like where I'm at now. Um, I'm starting to build up more bird's eye view. More people are starting to join up with me and doing independent projects with me. Specifically, Raven's Macabre, which is a horror anthology series that's actually dropping this October around
Okay, yeah, I was
Halloween.
gonna summarize. It's like, so I know for sure you've got Tooth and Nail, which is at least 3 issues long. So do you have a
Six.
trade paperback for that, or
No,
just this, just the singles?
no, it's 6 issues
6 ish.
actually.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, 6 issues. And I will be doing a paperback of that next year. After I finish, I'm actually in the midst of working on a one shot of one of the antagonists that's in. You probably saw it at the end of Tooth and Nail, the character that has like this ninja garb, and he's
Yeah.
in the course and everything. Well, I'm going to do a backstory for him so
Oh,
people
cool.
can
Okay.
understand his motives and everything, why he's doing what he's doing. So as you continue to read the story, you'll see his story slowly opens up, and this is going to be like where he came from, why he's doing what he's doing, and everything. So I'm in the
Okay.
midst of working on that, and Ravens
You've also
Macabre is
got
already complete.
the macabre book as well, and that's
Yeah,
is that live now? Physical issues and stuff that people
not
can
yet,
get?
not yet.
Oh,
We're
okay,
gonna
okay.
we're gonna release in that. It's completely done. It's done by several different artists and writers. Myself, Patrick Hickey Jr. from Legacy Comics, Ernest Owen Dickinson, he's in Hong Kong, um, Tony Prince, and my wife Beth Bird.
Nice.
So we got together, and it's like the Tales from the Crypts, Twilight Zone, those type of stories and
Yeah, I
everything.
saw
We're
the
very
preview
into
on your
those.
website. It looks interesting. So
Yeah.
yeah, so now I'll run into like some of the more stuff like so you run Bird's Eye View Comics. I
Hmm.
guess that's like your own publishing company. And so
Hmm.
you have did you kickstart any of your books or do you sell them
No.
all just directly online? So what's like your main source of like sales and like where did you find and build your audience and all that?
I mean, I mostly built my audience online at first, and I think what I would say my best audience is when I go to conventions, and because I get to meet different people, and they actually get to see the artist and the writer. And well, I am the writer and artist with Tooth and Nail, but with Ravens Macabre, my wife will be there, and then I actually doing a book signing in October with because most of the people who are working on the book aren't in Illinois. So when I go out to go to different places, they're not with me, but I always drop their names to let people know that they're working on it. So I do a lot of stuff online, and I meet people at conventions. We make connections. You might have seen the action figure, well, not the figurine that got made from Sapphire from Tooth and Nail. I met the mom of the artist who did that, and she
Nice.
connected me with him. So it's like all my connections and all my um, audience have been mostly online. And some people come up to me at the con and say, "Hey, I know you. I've seen your stuff on Instagram, or I've seen your stuff here and there." And I'm like, "Oh wow, okay. I guess social media actually does work."
Yeah, so like how often do you go to conventions like a year? Like do you hit up like 12 or 8 or
Oh no,
24?
I wish I could.
Okay,
I wish
yeah.
I could get more of that because I do still have a full time job.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so and then money and all of that. So trying to hit off all, I try to help as much as I possibly can. St. Louis was actually the first one that I did that was kind of out of state. It was Illinois, Collinsville.
But
It's
yeah,
pretty much it's pretty much St. Louis. St. Louis.
yeah.
Um, that was the first one I ever done out of state. So that was
Okay.
really awesome to do that. So this year I hit maybe about two or three. No, I think four. I think four because I think I did one. Yeah, I did one at a high school. So did four,
Oh.
and then I'm going to be doing a book signing in October at one of the comic book stores around here. And yeah, it'll be the premiere of Ravens Macabre too.
So nice. Yeah, so I read the first issue. Well done, by the way. I liked how action heavy it was. You know, not everybody does it like that. I
Yeah,
don't know if you've read any of my books, but like my second one, Liquid Kills, like very much like that, where it's just like right from the jump, it's just like they're coming to get us, and we're gonna start. You know, let's go after them. I like that, so it was cool. But like, it looked to me like did you? How did you physically make the book? It looked like you drew, like you hand drew it and then did you like
yes,
scan it into your computer or
yep.
how is the actual physical process of doing that? What software did you use?
Well, first of all, I've hand drawn everything. I still believe in the hand drawing
It
and
looks really
everything.
good for doing that. That's like
Thank you.
that's tough to do.
Yeah, yeah. As you get into more issues, you'll see it more progress and get a little bit more digital. But I always do the initial drawings by hand.
Yeah.
And then I scan it in. I go to like, a copy machine in my job, or I go to FedEx, Kinko's, and scan it in, and then I put it into Procreate. I put it in there and start cleaning things up, maybe add a little effects and stuff, and then I bring it over to Comic Draw, and I put the lettering and do a little bit more cleanup, and then each page I do each page that way.
Okay, so that would basically print, scan, Procreate, and then what was the other one? Comic Draw?
Comic Draw, yeah, Comic Draw is an iPad app
Oh,
that a
okay. And
friend
so
of
that's
mine
how you
told me
did like
about.
you did the lettering and stuff like
Yep,
that. Okay, cool.
yep, yep,
Nice. All right.
yep.
So like whenever you have you how do who do you print your comics with? Or like whenever you actually do you print them yourself or do you go through a
No,
company?
no, I go. Originally, I went through a company called Blue Edge that my uncle introduced me to. They're based in Chicago, and I started doing. I think I get up to. Actually, I did 5 issues with them, and then I went to Comic Impressions, which was actually introduced to me through Patrick Hickey Jr. Because he told me about what he does his with. Because Blue Edge didn't really focus on comics; they did all kinds of stuff. Whereas Comic Impressions was more geared towards comic book stuff. So
Okay,
it's
yeah.
yeah, issue 6 is the one I did first with them, and then when I printed out for the conventions after that, I print out all through them through Comic Impressions, and so the Ravens Macabre is also going to be through Comic Impressions.
Okay. Is that who you're gonna do your trade with as well?
Yeah, that's it's already in process and doing that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Nice. So
yeah.
whenever you do that, like, what are you going to do for your launch? Do you have anything special? Like, do you have it in any bookstores or do you have any kind of like special, like, I don't know, kind of tactics or that you are trying to do to sort of like have a big launch or like do any kind of live event or anything like that?
Well, I do live videos on my either Instagram or my Facebook page, Tooth and Nail Comic, Bird's Eye View Comics on the Facebook, and then on Instagram, I it's Bird's Eye View Official. So I usually do a live video and talk about what's coming out, what's going on, who's going to be working with
Okay,
us,
yeah.
and
So you're
everything. Yeah.
you're like basically talking to your fans like through Facebook and Instagram
Yep.
Live and stuff. I saw, yeah, you have a lot of followers on those social media. How do you grow your fan base on there? Or how do you reach out to new people?
Um, I just post stuff, and some people will reach out to me and say, "Hey, that's great," or they'll follow me. I'll just start getting followers, followers, followers. Some people might make comments. That's what was always funny to me is that I barely got any comments. I barely got any likes. But then I go to the conventions and they say, "Hey, I follow you on Instagram. Hey, I did it." So I'm like, "Wow!" So a lot of people are watching what I'm doing. They are following me, but just not everybody clicks.
Yeah.
You getting the clicks and everything, which is fine. I'm not trying to be all about the clicks and everything. I want people to appreciate what I'm doing, and like the things I'm doing. And the fact that I'm in St. Louis and I'm not from St. Louis, and you got people come up to me knowing me from Instagram, that's enough for me
Yeah,
right
that's
there.
cool. That that's what's it's interesting about this space is like once you're in, you're in. Because like the
Yeah,
people that are into this stuff, like they're out looking for it and they'll find you
right,
if it's out there.
right.
Are you a part of any like of the Facebook groups that are about indie comics or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm in Facebook groups. I'm in several different ones. One of the major ones that I actually send stuff to everyone. I can't even name off of it because I got a
Yeah,
whole list
yeah.
of them. And the way I find artists and stuff and writers and people who want to do that, because I've started this. I started off by myself, and I started off, doing this alone. I do Tooth and Nail completely alone. But when Ravens Macabre came around, I had a lot of people who wanted to jump on board, who wanted to be part of it. I had friends, I had people I met online who wanted to be part of it. And so I got in my head that, you know what? I want to help other artists and writers and creators get out there. I can't pay anybody. I don't have any money, but I'll put up the money to print whatever they do. I'll put up the money to produce and get your name out there because I think it's very important that recognition, is very important, over money, for
Yeah.
artists. And so that's why I'm not out here for the money. I'm out here to create and get my creation out there. If the money comes, thank the Lord.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm happy with that. But it's the joy and the admiration that I get from people coming up to me and enjoying what we're doing and saying, "Man, this is great. You guys are independent. You're doing this." Because the big ones have been around for years. We need new stories. We need
Yeah.
new creators. And I think people are hungry for that. And I actually heard somebody say that at one of the conventions. Said, "Man, it's great to see something new and different." That's why they were so impressed with the conventions, because they see all this creativity. They see all these other things. That's not Spider-Man. That's not Batman. That's not all these things. Nothing wrong with that. Those are the you know those pedestals that started this all, but there's other stories.
Yeah.
There's other creators. There's other things besides those things. And so I want to help push that forward for independent creators to do what they do. And so that's what Bird's Eye Views become, is a beacon for independent creators. So if people want to come aboard, I can't throw money at you, but my thing is getting you recognized, sharing your work, sharing everything on social media, going to conventions, talking about you. You've got business cards, if you got artwork. If you want to come to conventions with me, I pay for the table. You ain't got to pay for nothing. You just come and sit and sign books. I had a signing with one of the artists from Ravens Macabre there, and he was signing with them, with my wife and me. And that's also going to happen with the book signing in October. And if other people were in other that were in other states or other places, I will have them come along too. I have everybody come along, so that we can all just be seen and put our names out there. So yeah, that's the big thing. Hey, Kitty.
Yes, I told you.
I know. I got the same situation. um, but yeah, that's pretty much what Bird's Eye View is all about, and getting creators to be seen. And if people want to take what they do with Bird's Eye View, their own creations, and go and do their own thing, great. I want it to be a springboard, because a lot of people just need that encouragement. They need that pickup. They need to know how to do it. And then I give them the know-how. I give them all of that. And if they do stuff with Bird's Eye View, great. If they don't, they can take whatever I gave them and they can go and do their own thing, because everybody can do it on their own. It's just that they have the motivation, because we have the technology now to do it. And everybody can do it. I just want to encourage and push people to that point.
Yeah, I think that's what, to me, like, what struck you out. Sorry, so to like, to me, what struck out with yours, like, to where I'm like, oh, this is an interesting aspect that I would want to highlight, is like, it's like proof that you, like, for example, you said you're a teacher, right?
No.
Oh, sorry. Well, let's just say, like, if the young kids that are coming out there, like, you can show them, like, you draw, at school, you doodle, like, you can draw that and turn it into a book. That's like
Mm-hmm.
professional.
Yep.
And there's nothing like special, no expensive software needed. Like you said, this is all like very simple, straightforward stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just like interesting that it's just like that. You can showcase to anybody that it's like there are no barriers to entry if you want to
Nope.
create your own stories here.
No barriers at all. And it's funny you would say that, because I actually went and spoke to grade school kids at a
Oh, that's what I was
school.
thinking.
And
You went to a high school to do it. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, I went to a convention in a high school, and I also went to a grade school in Chicago and talked to 3 classes and talked to them about being creative. And I didn't only just keep it at comic books. If you want to do film, if you want to do music, if you want to do anything that's creative, do it. We have the technology to pull it off now. So I was encouraging kids, and their eyes were like saucers. It was like, oh my gosh. And it was a career day. So it was other people who came, like lawyer, a firefighter, stuff like that. I went to lunch with them, and I felt so like out of place with them, because they were like these big professionals. And I just was just kind of sitting there eating everything. I was kind of quiet. And then one of the ladies came in. She's like, "Cory, you stole the show. I went into one of the classrooms, and all they do is talk about you, asking if I could draw." Blah, blah, blah. I was like, "Really?" It was like, "Yeah, I was trying to talk about what I needed to talk about. They were too busy talking about you still." So to give that kind of influence, to give that kind of push makes me feel like, wow, that's more worth something than money, you
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
and everything. So I want to continue to do that with adults, with kids, whoever who wants to create.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like if someone would have come to me in grade school or high school and actually showed me like, "Hey, here's a book. Here, I made it," like, and this is what I
Mm-hmm.
do. I like, and there's like conventions and stuff. I would have definitely jumped on board a lot stronger when I was younger. But they weren't like a. It was almost as unrealistic as like someone just being like, "Hey, I'm an actor," and like I don't know, like it was just like without being in the on one of the coasts in the Midwest, it's just sort of like an unheard of. It's almost like, oh, that's some weird thing you do on the weekends. Is like, oh, you make a
Mm-hmm.
short film or something like that, or like, oh, you make a comic book. But if it's like, if I would have seen like, no, this is like a professional thing that people do. It's like it's a whole industry here. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
that's cool that you're going to high schools and schools and stuff and talking
Oh
about it.
yeah,
Was
no
that
doubt.
like did someone invite you to that or did you like make a connection locally? Like how much of your business and stuff is like a community thing and like artists that you met firsthand versus online and how big is there like a local scene at all like where you're at? Like where I'm at in St. Louis aside from that convention where we met at, there are like a lot of like writers guilds and meetups and like comic groups that are like physical that people go to. Do you have anything where you're at?
Not really. I mean, in Columbia there is, but I mean, I think because it's down in Chicago, I haven't really looked into it because I've been doing so many things here in this area. The reason, I'm trying to remember the first question because I was ready to answer that, and then
Oh,
you kind of
sorry.
slid to the other. Do you remember what the first
Oh,
question
I was
was?
asking, how did you get the chance to speak at the high schools? Were you invited or?
Oh, so the grade school I went to was because my wife's aunt is a teacher there. So she wanted me to come there for career day and talk. And then the high school one, actually, a friend of mine recommended me to do the high school one because the administrator at the high school contacted her, and she pointed them to me. And so I got in contact with them and said, "Hey, yeah, I'm interested. If you want me to do it." And because they want to influence more like creativity and more like independent businesses and stuff like that. So that's how I got connected with that.
Nice.
Um, Second question, what was it again? I'm sorry.
It was like basically a follow up to where I was saying like, are you part of any communities? And the reason I bring that up is because I actually like the people in the communities around here. They brought that up to me. They're like, "Hey, have you ever considered speaking at local schools?" And I actually did end up speaking at a high school.
Hmm.
And but that was something I never thought of as like an avenue is kind of like keynote speaking, I guess is what they call it, where you're kind of
Hmm.
like a guest, just like kind of talking about the industry or like and things like that, or there's a lot of writers or like writers retreats where people write poetry novels and they want to kind of like branch out learn how to like you know make it more of a living kind of thing and they don't
Hmm.
know about really like the graphic novel or comic industry and so they asked me like, hey, can you speak more to this? And I was just wondering like, are there any like communities that you're a part of or that of are prevalent around where you're at that you're a part of, if
Not
not
really.
because yeah.
Illinois is very funny like that. Like it's not a very creative state when it comes to a lot of things.
Yeah.
Unless I just unless I haven't tapped into it, but I've talked to other independent comic book creators at conventions, and they say, "Man, something's with Illinois. I've been to Florida, I've been here, I've been there, and it's bumping." But in Illinois, it's kind of like dead. Like it's not enough. People were excited. Like St. Louis, was great. I mean, the first day I was getting crowds and crowds and crowds at my thing. I sold out of my first issue, and so there. I don't know what the environment of this area is, but it's very low key when it comes to a lot of the comic book stuff. I am good friends with comic book store owners, and that's how I get to know about a lot of the Mighty Cons. I know a lot about other conventions that's going around, so they talk to me about it. But as for clubs and everything like that, it's very minuscule in this area. I would love to be more involved in those type of things, but I just don't see it very often advertised around here.
Yeah, no. The St. Louis is like it's got a pretty strong anime community that
Mhm.
and so and we have a strong like tabletop game and like
Mhm,
board
mhm,
communities,
mhm,
and they
mhm.
also branch into comics and card games and all this stuff, and they have like meetups and stuff all the time, and we have a lot of writers groups, and so being like an indie comic creator is like I'm like one of very few, or
Mhm,
like of like
mhm,
and then there's a few big names in comics that live out here, like Cullen
mhm,
Bunn lives out here, but it's not
mhm.
like we all get together. I was
Right.
just wondering because like I don't know. Yeah, there's some people that I have like you talk to where it's like they have their main online hub that's like kind of like their community, and then they have like
Mhm,
another community like they have their like local shops. So like another thing about St. Louis is like there are like local shops where people just like go and hang out at, and like that's the
mhm,
place to be. As
mhm.
basically people that are into comics, people that write comics and stuff like that, and I always try to like I see everything as like subcultures, which
Yeah.
like it was like kind of what I was gonna is like, are there any other like subcultures outside of comics that you're a part of to where like you bring this stuff up at and like kind of bring them into it?
Not really. I mean, hold on just a second. Alexa, stop. I'm sorry.
No, you're
I
good.
didn't want that to get into the video, but um there are people who get into the card games, into the I can't think of the names right now, but they get into those in a lot of the comic book shops that I go to. I'm not part of that really. But it just really isn't many people like when it comes to independent creators around here. I haven't met very
Yeah.
little, unless I go to a convention and I meet people there. But most of them are not from here; they're usually from somewhere else.
No,
So
yeah.
I have not been able to. My online community, that's where it flourishes for me. Like that's how I meet a lot of different artists. We have groups that I have a comic book group, creators group that I'm part of, that are working on stuff for Bird's Eye View, and we chat about comic book stuff. We have a meeting tomorrow that we're going to get together and celebrate the release of Ravens Macabre, and then get ready for the next projects that we're going to be doing. Um, and then small groups that I do online, you know, from the social media apps and stuff like that. So that's as far as it goes. I'm still friends with people. The guy in New York, I'm friends with the guy in Hong Kong, and different places and stuff. So yeah, the online community is like pretty much the only like solid community that I have.
Nice. Well, yeah, I guess I'll sort of wrap up with like I guess in just let's I my final like key thing that I kind of want to get out there is like what's cool about you is like it just shows like you were just saying is like no one around you is doing what you're doing in your like
Mm-hmm.
actual physical vicinity. So like just the fact that you physically hand drew an entire comic series like and wrote by yourself, and then basically it did everything, printed it all yourself, started your own little company, and like you have a following just doing this like passion project that you love. And now it's branched out into other things. And now you're
Mm-hmm.
teaching other people how to do it. And now you're sort of like editing, producing, getting other people involved to like almost like forming your own like publishing company, or at least kind of like editorial process.
Yeah,
So it's like
yeah,
you this little thing turned into like, which is kind of what I talk like I preach, which is like you're building an empire with what you think
yes,
are little stories
yes.
is like IP that's collectively, changing lives. And so I guess just fill us in on like a little bit of like I think I got like 10 minutes left before it cuts us off. So it's basically like fill us in on like what is Tooth and Nail, and then what do you have next, and the your website and stuff to just tell people where to go.
Well, my website is birdseyeviewcomics.com. There I sell apparel for Tooth and Nail. I sell comics. Um, and Ravens Macabre is also on there for pre-order. Pre-order for the only one shot is there. And I mean, Tooth and Nail is an action manga inspired comic series about anthropomorphic animals that are at war with each other, and it's I don't want to give away too much because I would like people to buy the comic. But I'm very influenced by Naruto, Rurouni Kenshin, Ninja Turtles, all of that. So you'll see those influences in that book. But I also put my own spin and my own taste on that. The other one is Raven's Macabre, which is a horror anthology series comprised of different artists and writers with different stories that revolve around a raven that shows up in each one of the stories, and it's kind of like the catalyst of what goes wrong in the story. So whether it's like directly involved or if it's like it's just a spiritual entity in the area that makes things go supernaturally wrong, sci-fi wrong, or whatever way you want to call it. So just think of Tales from the Crypt, Twilight Zone, stuff like that. Very influenced by those series. And then the Oni series will be out soon, and Volume 2 is actually being worked on for Ravens Macabre as well. And the Shadow Knight may be making a new appearance next year. So,
All right.
yeah.
Nice, man. Yeah, and
Thank you.
from what that first issue of Tooth and Nail, well done, man. Yeah, like I
Thank
like
you.
the logo, the cover's great, the artwork inside. I mean, it's very like uh I don't, did you read a book that came out from my publisher for my newest series, Liquid Kill, another series called Ninja Funk, very similar in art style to yours, and that theirs is all like watercolor, hand drawn kind of stuff, and it's also anthropomorphized
Oh,
animals
okay.
and stuff. But yours is much different there. But yeah, it in style it was like very similar, so like if you want to check that out. But yeah, it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
really cool, well done on that. I'll definitely be checking out the rest of them, and I'll be hyping whatever you got coming out, man. So stay in
Thank you.
touch, and thanks a lot for coming on.
Thank you so much, Max.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'll catch you later.